Today, I'm with my friend Tib, and we are going to build an entire LinkedIn content strategy to help him blow up on the platform. So why should he and you listen to me? I've grown my account to 50,000 plus followers, but most importantly, I help multiple people in my team reach tens of thousands of followers. In the process, I managed to grow my business to 6 million per year just thanks to LinkedIn. So first, we're going to talk about the mindset and the goal that Tib wants to reach. So Tib, let's talk numbers. How many followers do you want to get by the end of the year?
So right now I got around 3,000 followers on LinkedIn. And if we can set a challenge by the end of the year to reach 20K, that would be amazing.
Okay, so that's sort of like a big challenge just because of the fact that we are talking about almost 7xing the number of followers you have. That said, it's actually doable. So I'd say 17,000 followers, 6 months, that's approximately 3K followers per month, which actually means that we need to gain 100 followers per day. I think that like if you reach sort of 15 to 20,000 impressions per post, that's doable. And typically what happens with LinkedIn is that the growth isn't linear. So it's gonna be slow and then like it just becomes larger and larger. So we can definitely make this happen. That said, we're gonna need to make a lot of posts. Are you willing to post a lot on the platform?
I'm ready to commit to 5 posts a week
Okay.
from Monday to Friday every day.
So like another detail is there might be some time for which you post and you actually don't see any results. Are you willing to be posting for 3 months straight without seeing a single result?
We can do for 3 months, I will post without any excuse every day, 5 times a week.
Okay.
We review in 3 months and then we recalibrate and fix the second objective for the coming 3 months.
Okay. Amazing. I'm saying that because typically that what happens is the biggest reason why people never manage to grow an audience is because they give up beforehand. And for me, I almost gave up right before I got my first viral post. So I had posted, I think, 30 posts in a row. I didn't generate a single lead. It had been 1 month and a half. And then this 31st post generated something like 140K impressions. And I booked, I think, something like 25 meetings and I closed 3 clients. And so like this is the thing is, you should be willing to be publishing without nothing happening. But what actually happens is that people are noticing you. And typically people think that you post 1, 2, 3 times and at some point someone notices you and then that's when they want to buy your service. But what actually happens is that it's the constant exposure that make people want to contract your services. Because typically people are just like looking at your post. They don't need your post, but they might find these interesting. And at some point, their circumstances change. And at some point, I'm like, oh, actually, I need a video maker, or like I need someone to help me. And that's the moment where you are the first person they think of. So
One of my challenge is whether I am in an industry where there is inbound, or is
Okay.
it an industry where actually you always gonna have to reach out and it's gonna be only one way.
Yeah, I mean, depending on your industry, you might have more or less people that could be actual leads. So for example, like on LinkedIn, if you are selling to human resources, to recruiters, to sellers, to marketers, and any sort of techie audience, then for sure you will find your audience. So it's definitely something I would recommend doing. Now, if you're in something more old school, it might not be the case, but the truth is most people do have LinkedIn profiles. It's like, as in, do you find your ideal client on LinkedIn?
Yeah, they are all
Okay.
there.
I guess the question is in, does it work or not? For sure it's gonna work. It's more so a question of how many leads you can generate from the platform. But in terms of purchasing power, it's one of the best platforms. So I'd say let's give it a try and then we'll see in 3 months if Tib managed to get past 10K followers as a first objective and then see if we can get to 20K. So Tib, the first thing I wanna do is I wanna review your profile. And right before we review your profile, if you could just explain to me in a few words, what's your business about? What do you do? So I can criticize sort of the way you showcase your experience and social proof.
Yeah, sure. So I have a marketing agency specialized in hospitality. So we create master assets, brand video, social campaign for luxury hotels with strategy driving booking, so turning the viewers into guests. We focus on the full funnel and the user journey in the industry.
What sort of big brands have you worked with?
So we work with the like of Bulgari, Rosewood, Belmont, the World 50 Best. So we got like some good, a very good portfolio already. So it's about getting how we can reach out to more and be more proactive.
So getting more exposure,
Yeah.
having more people that know that you've done like all of these great projects. Just like as a starting point, I really like your bannier. I think it's very professional for digitalsales.com, so we know where to go. it's a bit empty. So maybe you could add some sort of explanation as to what you do, but at the same time, because it's luxury, I think that's, luxury likes, say, white space. So I think it still works. I think the picture is very nice as well.
Appreciate you.
Maybe I would like have the picture like a bit more centered around your face because like you're a bit far away.
Okay.
But I'd say like this is a small detail. Not like the tagline. The tagline is always very important because whenever you comment under people's posts, they will see the first few lines of what you talk about. And also like it's obviously like the first thing that people notice. So here, for example, I'm seeing that you're a founder, a head of production at 4Digital6, the agency for hospitality. So, okay, that makes sense. And here I see the production of high-performing assets servicing the full funnel and user journey and known for strategic video room tours. So like here, I'd say it's a bit confusing, like the production of high-performing assets servicing the full funnel and user journey. I'm not entirely sure what that means. And then like here you say known for strategic video room tours. Like what do you mean by do you mean you are known for doing this?
Yeah, so in the industry, no one is actually doing video room tours for big brands, hotels to put on their website. So that's a proposition that we are like only in the market doing it.
Okay, an easy way I would improve this is this. I think is a bit too complicated for people. When people read your tagline, they should be able to say, "Okay, I get what they do." But here, the big advantage you have over like lots of other people is you work with massive brands, and so like instead of writing something along the lines of the production of high-performing assets, I would just like mention which brands you did it for, made videos for, and then like you would say Bulgari, Rosewood, blah, blah, blah. And then I would go like even further because I know you actually know that you had some videos that went completely viral for like some of these folks. And so I think I would make a small twist to this tagline and I would say something like created videos that generated 10 million views for hotels like Rosewood, Bulgari, na. I think like this...
In the tagline.
In the tagline. What do you think of this?
I'm open to try. My only point would be sometimes putting the brand forwards could turn off some others because they want to differentiate and they don't want to copy paste exactly what is been done, but it could work.
I think you never have enough social proof, so he's gonna try it and then he's gonna tell you that I was right in 3 months. I like that you did a read our case studies, so I think it's interesting because obviously like you're gonna be able to showcase social proof. One thing you could do instead, and that's when you have a premium account, is to put a premium button that like direct people to your website. And the reason why you want to put a premium button is because then people will see them every time you make a post. And so I'm gonna showcase that. So here you can see my profile. And if we have a look at my posts, you see here, visit my website, right?
Okay.
And then like, say we look at another one, visit my website. Any other post will have visit my website. So that is the thing is right under your tagline, where we'll be able to see that you helped those big brands, people will be able to one click to either your case studies or your website. And so this is a game changer because like if you look at this example, this was a good performing post, but this has like 160K eyeballs on the post and then they were able to one click visiting my website. So this is definitely a small change I would make.
Would you send visit my website to the main page, the homepage, or to the case study directly?
I think this is something that's not set. So you could send it to some sort of newsletter, to some lead magnet, some case studies, to the homepage. I actually want to try it out, but I'd say first is adding the button and sending traffic to your website will have a positive impact. So like there's no world where it doesn't positively impact what you do. So I'd say you should do this. Then next, what I want to do is I'm going to criticize some of your posts because after what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the kind of posts you could make, how to be consistent, how to find recurring formats, and sort of what does a great performing post look like. And probably the best way to start is to look at what non-performing posts look like. Here, like obviously like this isn't an actual post because you just did a repost. So as a rule of thumb, when you do repost and you write some content on LinkedIn, it never does a lot of impressions. So you can just use this to help another post get more likes. But this is definitely not something that will generate lots of likes for you. Here, I see like a post where you are basically advertising a video that you made. So as a rule of thumb, whenever you add a video link to your post, this will decrease the reach. That said, that's not a big issue because the decrease in reach you get is going to be countered by the fact that people do visit your website. But what you want to do if you need to do a lot of call to actions that lead people to your website is, say you are posting 5 times per week. 4 times per week, what you should do is you just add a link in the comment. So, you just like, as a first comment, you put a call to action saying to people, hey, this is the full video, like this is my website, or like here are my case studies. And then 1 time per week, you can do one where you send people straight to your website. But as a rule of thumb, you just want to avoid adding too many links.
Okay.
And so here you're talking about what if your hotel video didn't just look good, but actually made people book. So like the issue there is with this sort of content is that you are basically talking about something you've done, and it's not like the audience that will read you is learning something. And so like when we decide our content formats, we need to find some where we are actively educating our audience, because the people who spend some time and like who would be your future buyers on LinkedIn are scrolling the feed to be educated. And so what happens is that they get educated by your content, day after day on some aspects around your industry until the moment where they are ready to action and to book a meeting with you. And so if you want your content to perform, then like it either needs to be like very inspirational or like visually appealing with some sort of like very nice looking videos, or it needs to be something where they can just grab the advice and do something with it. So here, for example, you're talking about you're on day 2 of an incredible shoot. This is some sort of behind the scenes content isn't problematic, because it's like you can talk about what you do, but there's always a better way to sort of frame this content. Or what you can do is you can talk about what you did and then explain the learnings associated with this,
Okay.
And for example, like here you're talking about a shoot. Maybe something that you could do if your target were hotels would be like to talk about like the fact that like it's the second day of the shoot, and you would describe some sort of problem that happens or that arises when it was time to shoot the hotel and so on. You could explain how you fixed it, and this ultimately would become some sort of tip where any hotel that's looking to present in a more visually appealing way would be able to hear your experience, so they know that that's what you do. But on top of this, they would get away with some sort of insights that they can then leverage for their videos and photos and so on. Okay, this is interesting, because this is a story where you're talking about quitting university and your parents thinking that you're a failure up until you actually grew this successful business. So I think that like this sort of post, this storytelling post, sharing your journey, it's actually something that you can do in a recurring way. So like, for example, once a week, you could just talk about some sort of struggle or some sort of project you tried, and then I can explain how this led to you actually succeeding. So that's definitely something I would include in the content rotation.
Every week?
It could be every week. This won't generate as many leads as just like pure valuable posts. But at the same time, people do buy for your personality. Sometimes it just boils down to looking more likable. And I think that this sort of posts that do this, they're sharing your story, puts you in some sort of vulnerable way, and you emotionally connect with people who can either be inspired by your journey or by people who are like, I just like the humility. If you don't want to do this, or if you feel ashamed of talking about you once per week, you could do this once every couple of weeks. And LinkedIn. What?
I don't feel ashamed.
Let's talk about what to post about. The best way I found to find some, say, high-performing formats is to look at people in your industry who are already succeeding at content, ideally on LinkedIn, if not on the platforms. In that regard, do you have a list of people that you know that make some great content in your niche?
I have some names, people I always see. This one, for example. This one, Bashar, or Max.
Amazing. Well, let's have a look at Max content. You're going to use an extension to see his best performing posts. So here I see Max has 12,000 followers. He seems to only be posting in certain groups. Okay, so here I see some posts that seem to be working. But then like typically what we want to do is we want to identify people who make great posts in our industry. And we're going to use an extension. So in this case, Taplio, to find out their best performing posts. And so for example, here what I can do, I click this extension here, and now I've got a list of their best posts. And so here, for example, you can see that this post that was posted on the 8th of February 2025 got 226 likes. So we can actually have a look at why did this post perform. So like it's talking about TripAdvisor firing 150 employees. So I guess it's like typically a good angle. This post had 160 likes. So I think it's decent given that Max here has just 12,000 followers. So I say when you have 12,000 followers, a post reaching 150 likes is typically a post that performed well. What I would do first, for you is I would just try to find as many of these people who post on LinkedIn around hospitality, hotels, all of these topics. And in the beginning, what you do is you just go on each other profile and then you identify, say, the best post, and you can copy paste the link in some sort of file or whatever. But like the whole idea is to just have a huge log of posts that you can gain inspiration from, so that when you come up and you do your own post, you have, some sort of standards to strive for in terms of quality. Because now what you know is that if you want to get, say, at least 100 likes on your post, then your post needs to be at least in a similar quality to this post. But at the same time, it's great, to sort of find topics to talk about, just because whenever people talk about a topic and the post sort of blows up, then a big predictor of the possibility for yours to blow up as well is the fact that a similar post blew up.
Yeah.
That said, in like many situations, like here, for example, we were struggling to find some creators. And so in this case, what we can do is we can use Taplio's feed extension to find some great performing posts. And so what you can do here is you can actually input your keywords. So in this case, for example, for me, because I'm mostly talking about outbound, about AI sales, go-to-market and prospecting tools, these are the keywords I inputted. And here there's some sort of filters. For example, I can decide that I want to have posts that have had at least, say, 200 likes, and I want this post to have been published like in the last month, the last 3 months. So like, let's say 200 likes in the last month, and let's click on apply. And what happens is I have a feed, of like people who in these keywords have had some great performing posts. As you can see, I'm actually here 3 times because I'm probably one of the best creators for these keywords. For you, what sort of keywords would you want to be looking for?
So there could be hotels, resorts, luxury, travel.
It's a good start. Okay, so here we have all of the posts that mention these keywords that have had at least 200 likes and that were published in the last month. And here what you can do is you can just click on show more, whenever others. Is there something that seems interesting to you in terms of an angle that you could reproduce or that you could leverage for your own content?
Maybe with the Hilton one.
Oh, that's interesting. Hilton retains its position as the world's most valuable hotel brand for the 10th consecutive year. I like it because here the angle is sort of just describing what's going on. We could have a look at this account and see if they do a lot of these posts or, if it's something that works week after week. But I find that the best way to remain consistent is to find some recurring format. And so here, for example, if once per week, if you could do a deep dive on one successful hotel and then describe, what's going on, say like the evolution, then you could use a similar format to talk about Rosewood or Bulgari. It's interesting because then in the PS line, you could be like, oh, by the way, I've actually recorded a video for them. You want to see it? You would gain attention with this formatting, and then you would have
an insight in the industry, and then kind of showing why you're connected to it. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. So I guess like let's do this. What we're gonna do is you're just gonna note down this sort of format. So one format that we can do on a recurring basis would be like focus on specific hotel, sharing their results, and then you're just gonna use the link of this post as a reference. Then I think like I saw another interesting post. So here, for example, like this guy has 333 likes, and he goes, "Here's everything that happened in health and wellness this week."
There's a lot of synergy between hotels and wellness at the moment, so yeah.
Okay,
could be top.
I like it. Because probably one recurring format I would do for you would be here's everything that happened in the luxury hotel industry this week, something like this. And then you could just have sort of 6-8 interesting facts and then just like laying this down one after one.
Yeah.
So here we could go on and on. I mean, like here, for example, like you see like there is a, I don't know why it's here,
personal one.
It's like some sort of personal post, so we could also get inspiration. But I guess before we dive deeper into, say, like some of these best performing posts, I'm curious, like, do you already have some ideas as for content pieces that you are thinking, oh, I could publish this week after week, or just like some ideas you have?
Yeah, so one would be industry insights that I would do.
Okay, so the industry insights was related to what we said?
Yeah, to the first one.
Oh, okay.
A second one could be the services and how it helps. So sharing case study and how we helped X brands reaching X results.
Like you could do this every week just a client story, right?
Client story, yeah.
I'm saying client story because client story is better than case studies, because case studies is this sits on your website and it's social proof. Someone wants to buy from you, they see it. Client story is actually the exact same idea, but the way you introduce it make people want to read. The case study, the social proof, is almost a Trojan horse in the sense that you almost trick people into reading the story for them to end up understanding
Yeah.
what you've done.
It could be like the small win of the bigger case study, like
Okay.
story told.
I think that whenever you do this sort of post, you want to be a bit dramatic in the, at least in the hook. So we're going to talk about the anatomy of a great performing post later on. But the hook is the reason why people click on see more and read the rest of the post. So I'm going to write this down. So like client story. And I think this is great because we know everything that happened this week plus like focus on a specific hotel are great for top of funnel. So it brings some overall eyeballs. So that means that like just more people learning about who you are. But then like the client stories serve as bottom of funnel because now people actually have a good understanding of what you offer as a service. And you ideally want to mix these formats. Some posts should be bringing people in your ecosystem. So some posts should be getting them lower down the funnel. What do you have in mind to talk about actually?
I would think of the personal struggle I had or took me to go from where I was to where I am in that way, yeah. And like with the learning along the way to get to where I am now with the business.
Yeah, I think that's what's interesting with LinkedIn is that every struggle you encounter cannot be a personal story. I think your post was very interesting because you talk about how you quit university with just one exam left. So you actually never got your diploma. Obviously, like it was emotional because you described that your parents were fuming. Like, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah.
And then
It was a drama at home.
yeah, and somehow there was a light at the end of the tunnel. So I think that that's really interesting is like every struggle you have, and that's some rule you can remember is every time there's something annoying in the business, like whether it's like a client that leaves or like an employee that mistreats you or will lose motivation, decides to leave. Like any struggle is something that you can make a post of just because it also makes you more approachable. From the outside, when you're just posting stories of you winning, it's just like, yeah, this guy is just winning.
Cocky.
You're not the same. Yeah.
It's easier to relate to someone that has had struggle, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we have 4 formats, 1, 2, 3, 4. What could we?
Some business we fail together. Also,
Some what?
some businesses we failed together.
Now we have separate businesses apparently.
Yeah.
Like one thing that I think would be interesting because obviously I've seen some of your videos and these videos, and I think we're gonna try to show them like on the background as I'm
Okay.
talking about this, so that people have a good idea of what they look like, and they actually look amazing, these videos. And sometimes I guess the best proof of work is just sharing the work, how it looks like. And so you could decide between sharing an entire video or just the snippets of these videos and then describe that, because at the end of the day, your work is, helping these beautiful hotels show to more people how beautiful they are, then this is some sort of thing that we should be able to see in your content. And so I'd say
So
like,
sharing the work.
yeah, amazing. So we have 5 content formats.
Would you speak about our services in that one, or it's more like visual and then explaining based on the visual?
Just as a rule of thumb, whenever you do a linked content, you should try to sell the least possible and then just do like a ask that's gonna be a small ask or like a small sort of ad. And so for example, I like to use the PS line, So we just do a post and we'll say, okay, here's how we generated leads for this client. And then I would explain like in details how we did it. And I would be like, when I get the same thing for you, send a DM. So I think here, for example, it's you publish the video, you show how amazing it looks. You explain, hey, I did this, I filmed on this way, we waited this time of the day so that the light would be the best. And then it's like, do you want your hotel like to look as great, or do you want people to see how great your hotel looks? Just send me a DM.
Yeah, okay.
And that's sort of how I would do this. We talked about how to find great content, and we talked about like finding a recurring format per day. Now, one thing we're going to talk about is say the anatomy of a great LinkedIn post. But first, what I want to talk about is how to organize the content. Because when we say that you're going to be posting on average 1 time per day, just like, Monday to Friday, it looks simple in practice, it's actually a huge challenge. I've published 500 times on LinkedIn, and I can still tell you that I'm still struggling to stay consistent, or like not to waste too much time. One thing I've noticed is that one of the reasons why people actually waste too much time on posts is because they don't even know what they're going to be posting on that day. And so in this regard, what I like to do is I like to have a calendar. And so here you can see my calendar for the month of July, with say like the post I'm thinking of publishing. And here you see, I've got like several different emojis. Each emoji actually represents a recurring format. So like the same way we did it for you, I just have like this emoji. And so I know, okay, on that day, on Monday, it's always going to be a specific hotel insight, And then like every Tuesday, it's always going to be like everything that happened this week. Maybe this could be Friday or Monday.
Okay.
Who knows? Yeah. Like every Wednesday is always going to be a client story. And the reason why you want to do this is because then you can batch your content. So it's like, oh, I know that like it's always going to be specific hotels. So let me find some information about 8 hotels I worked with. And then I think about the format and I can repeat it week after week. And it's the same idea. And so it's big, like for me, what I do here is like I've got the post. I have like several ways of seeing it. So there is like you can see this way. So this is actually like older posts. So you see like all of the ones for July. And then if I look at the calendar view, you can see I write the draft inside of this. And then typically on the next day, I will just like put it clean inside of LinkedIn in the day of posting. So here, what we're gonna do for you is we're actually gonna be duplicating this template. So here at Tib, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna just create a small content calendar for you, and we're gonna draft a few publications. So here, Notion makes it pretty easy. I call it content calendar. What do you want to start posting? Do you want to start posting next week?
Yeah.
Next week? Okay, amazing. So as we talked about, we had a few ideas for say like posts to make. So here, like each day, one format somehow.
Okay.
So how do you want to do it? Like, do you want to do everything that happened this week in the beginning of the week or in the end of the week?
I think in the beginning of the week.
Beginning of the week?
Yeah.
Okay, it makes more sense indeed. Everything that happened this week.
Or last week or
last week.
yeah.
Last week. And then like focus on specific hotel, client story, personal story, and then video. So we're actually gonna go and draft this post, everything that happened last week. And I like to add icons to this thing, for example, like if it's gonna be like everything that happens, and so that like that it's this type of post. And then here, for example, you would do like hotel zoom. Is there a hotel that you would wanna say share some insights around?
I mean, I could start to speak about the hotel I worked with, which is specialized in wellness, which is very interesting in how they go around it.
What's the hotel?
It's Santani Wellness.
What do they do that's uncommon like any other?
So it's really uncommon because you get 2 types of stay. It's leisure or wellness. If you go with wellness, which is usually why people go for, when you arrive at the hotel, you get a consultation with the doctor and you get analyzed like what body type you have. And then from that, you will get a special diet plan, special activities, special massage. Basically, every guest at this hotel has a different dish to eat.
Oh, wow.
Because everything is custom to every guest. And it's a hotel basically that attracts CEOs, people that are like high stressed job, that are close to a burnout or are in a burnout. So a very specific kind of clientele that really seeks for complete detox, where like you won't use your phone, no screen. Some days, some people will just be on fruit juice for the full day. So it's very uncommon.
Imagine you were to make a post about the hotel. If there was, say, one thing we should remember about this hotel, what would it be?
I would say everything is crafted based on a doctor consultation.
So like the reason why I'm asking you this is because here, what we want to do is we want to start like whenever we write a post, obviously the anatomy of a LinkedIn post is you have a hook. The hook should be like some sort of short phrase that directly grabs attention so that people click on see more. Then you've got the body, that's essentially the story of the post. And then we put the call to action where you will either say like ask people to give their opinion because this will mean more engagement, which will mean like more reach, or you could actually use the call to action to redirect people to what you do. What we want to do is like we want to be thinking about, say, if people we're not even reading the entire post. What's one thing they should know about the post? So like sort of the most interesting information around it.
Yeah.
So for me, for example, like I've got like two angles for the hook. So like the angle number one is something along the lines of here's why the richest CEOs in the world go to this hotel. And then I'd say the other angle for the hook would be to talk about the fact that people have personalized plans, something along the lines of in this hotel, no two people eat the same meal. And this sort of confusing hook is like, why? What do you think for the hook? Which one do you like best?
I think it could be two different pieces of content, right? We could actually use them at separate time.
Yeah, we can repurpose it and then change the hook, which is actually
I like both, but I think the second one is less common than the first one. At this hotel, no one eats the same meal at the same time.
okay. Typically here, what I would recommend doing, ask ChatGPT to give us 15 variations of this hook so that we can select the best. So at this hotel, no two guests ever eat the same meal. So now we could be talking about Santani, so we're gonna tag them. So Santani Wellness Resort is an hotel like this can be, so like whenever there is the hook, there are three lines being shown. And if you put some sort of white space, that means that like someone scrolling the feeds will only see the first two lines. If you're gonna be writing one line, then you want to use the second line as almost like a second hook. So for example, it's like at this hotel, no two guests eat the same meal, and we could say Santani Wellness Resort is a place like any other I've seen. What do you think?
Yes, maybe like it's unlike
any
hotel you've ever heard of.
It's unlike any hotel you ever heard of. Now we can continue the post, but then we could be like, and this is why the wealthiest professionals, or like the wealthiest CEOs and high performing professionals pay. You know how much money they pay? Like as a rule of thumb, people like numbers.
Yeah, around 1K per night.
Pay 1K per night to stay there. And so then here we would explain the concept. And so we would say the hotel has two offerings. One, leisure if you want to blah blah blah. Two, wellness if you want to Then like you could go into more details explaining the offerings, so like this would be like some sort of paragraph, like say more details about the offering, and then more details about the offering, because like it's just like finishing the story somehow.
I could explain what I did. So for example, we would do yoga, we would eat the diet plan.
Yeah.
So we would do sauna.
So yeah, so like here I would do like more details about the offering, and then it's like say a personal thing you've done.
You experienced, yeah.
Your experience. And then say like this would be good, say for the body of the post. And then here the ending of the post is also very important because once again, it's either the place for you to promote what you do, or it's a place to do some sort of call to engagement where you would ask a question that would make it very easy for people to reply. And the reason why you want to do this is because obviously the more people engage with the post and the more odds or the higher likelihood there is that the post goes viral.
Yeah.
And so for example, in this case, if it were me, I would be like, PS, have you ever tried an experience such as this one? Or even better, like you could be like, would you ever try?
Would you, yeah.
Would you
a wellness resort
ever try? And here the post isn't over. So like imagine if we had actually completed this information, we would have like a good post because the hook is strong, so people want to click on read more. We talked about the specifics of the hook, so like people who are interested in knowing what's happening. We explained. You actually came up with your personal point of view, which makes it very unique in terms of content because no one could just copy paste content and like describe the exact experience you had. One sort of trick that has a huge impact on the amount of people who will see the post is the visual. So that means that like whenever you post, one thing I always do is I always have a visual attached to my post. And so here, you can see like this is a carousel.
So you never post anything without visual anymore?
I never post anything without visuals anymore. So you're like, these are carousels, but this is some infographic. I think for you it's gonna be easier to have some nice images because I'm talking about go-to-market, which is mostly online. Once again, like I guess the best way to find high-performing visuals for you, I would just try to find the best picture I can find about the hotel specifically.
Even if it's not mine?
Even if it's not yours, yeah. Just the simple act of adding a picture will increase the reach a lot.
More than the videos, right?
I mean, this is difficult to say. It really depends on the video on its own. I'd say as a rule of thumb, image, in my experience, do perform better than video. But the difference is that video actually have a higher impact on conversions, which is why I think you want to mix these formats and you want to be willing to accept that the video will have less eyeballs on it, but that those eyeballs, as in someone who looks at the video for, say, 7 minutes straight, is way more serious about buying your services than someone who just like see an image and then scrolls down. So yeah, so here, if you have taken an image at the hotel, I think I would use it. Otherwise, you could just find a nice looking image and then add it to the post. So yeah, so I would add this image. Okay, so I think this takes a good amount of time. So maybe let's take 2 formats, because I think one thing that you do very well, and which is actually your work, is those videos. And so, for example, on YouTube, I know you have like your YouTube channel that's close to 1K subscribers, but you had some videos that went 37,000 views isn't nothing.
And now going from the kitchen, we take you infinity pool.
And like you have some very like nice angles, like some point of view. I mean, like here we see like the interior of this nice villa and so on. And I think here, what I would do if I were you, I would try to probably do like an accelerated version of it. Maybe like say 30 seconds, 1 minute, where maybe you pick the best point of views and then you explain what you did to make this video pop, right? So here, like, let's imagine that you took this, you kind of cut it, and then you just basically single out the best visuals that were in the video. And then here, then you could make a post. Let's say like is the video post, right? Like let's take video. Let's take the camera, and then here we're gonna take your best performing video. So this was it Costa Rica?
Yeah.
Santa Teresa, yes, Santa Teresa is Costa Rica. So here we can imagine that we took the video here. Now what you want to do is you will be showcasing the video, but once again, you want to find a reason why people will look at the video. And so saying that something is beautiful, or oh, this is the most beautiful hotel, isn't the kind of stuff that like make people curious. Because I think here, for example, what I would do is like I would try to create some sort of curiosity gap in people's minds that sends them towards the end of the video, as in something like this villa has a room or like has a feature that I've ever seen in any villa.
You would put that in the video or in the copy?
In the copy, right? To get people to click on the video. Right? And so it will be like this villa in Santa Teresa like has the most unique viewpoint I ever seen, and I made videos for like 50 plus villas. Or you could say something like fast forward to 2 minutes, say like 37, like 2 minutes before the end to see it,
Yeah.
Because then people are gonna be like, oh shit, I need to go check it out. I don't know, like just something like this. And then once you did this hook, I will describe like how you recorded it, right? And so for example, it's also like the biggest villa I recorded to date. And then, you can have some sort of like point where you talk about, how you made like 5,000 steps just following Holly around, and then like you would just explain sort of like maybe the technical details, it's like what's the best way to make the video very very nice, as for example, and you could say like we waited for around sunset to record this part, and then you would say if you want to record this, like use the sunset because this is the best time. We came in with 4 different camera equipments or something, and like you would explain like the difference between like the fact that here I guess this is like you had to do some drone shots, and then you had to do some
wide shots, close up,
wide shots and so on, and then like you would explain how the editing had to sort of blend drone shots, wide shots, close-up shots, whatever way. And you can even go like people like when you go specific. So if you talk about even the camera equipment, people will be thinking, oh nice, like if I go stay in a nice looking villa, I could also use like this camera, right? So like, do you have like a DJI drone something?
Yeah,
DJI drone X6, and then like Sony camera, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so on. And then like I think the PS line, once again, I would either ask a question so that people engage. So it would be something along the lines of, what's the most luxurious villa you've ever been in? Or like, would you say in Santa Teresa in the middle of the jungle? Or you can say, if you want the same video for your villa, send me a DM.
Yeah.
One thing I just thought about is that this video actually had 37 views. So I would actually use this in the post because this is great social proof, you know. So this is probably why 37 plus people viewed the video without us promoting it, you know.
Yeah.
The reason for this is because it doesn't add that much to the audience, to the reader, but what it does is if you have a villa and you're like, oh wait, is it telling me that like he made one video and he's had 30,000 views? Then it makes you think, maybe let me hire these guys. And I think this would be a great performing post. Let's do a last one. So let's do a client story, because client story is interesting because this post won't get the most views, but you can always frame them in a way where it draws more attention than it would have if it wasn't presented like just a pure case study.
In your opinion, which format from those is most likely to get the most amount of views?
I think that everything that happened last week is a great top of funnel format, because typically what happens is that if you do everything that happened last week, then maybe you're gonna mention 6 different hotels. And if you mention 6 different hotels and you tag them, then potentially all of them will comment back. So that means like maybe like a manager or like a marketing manager or whatever. And so whenever you tag a good amount or a fair amount of different, say, company pages or people, then you get more engagement just as a result. And so I think that like the everything that happened last week would be the one that will get the most eyeballs, but this is the one that showcases the least how professional you are.
Yeah, of course.
So it's really important then like on the next day, there's some sort of focus or a client story where people are like, oh, okay, so this is just not a guy, this is not just a guy curating hotel news. It's actually
Yeah,
a guy
it's not a
who-
journalist.
who-
Yeah.
yeah. So I would say like this in terms of virality. Personal story typically is like they work well for your existing audience.
Yeah.
You know, just like people who know you from school and are like, oh, Thibaut is actually successful, you know? And I think the video could blow up because it's really, you know, if people really find it beautiful, I think like this is very variable, but like it's a high likelihood that like if you have like a few nice shots week after week, that one of these videos actually just go crazy. So let's do a client story. So can you tell me about, what's the best case study you have actually?
Well, a good case study, for example, is with Bulgari. In 1 month, we got 400,000 organic reach with only like 5,000 followers.
Oh, wow. Okay, so the Instagram account of Bulgari has 5K followers,
Yeah.
but what was it like? Was it like a one video, 2 videos?
It was like the whole content machine that we created for them.
And like this content machine, how many posts was it?
I need to remember the details because I was not in charge of it, but it would be like 3-4 posts a week
Okay, for how long?
for a month. So
Okay.
in 1 month, 400,000 reach views.
Nice. Wow, okay, so that's great. Okay. So here, let's talk about it. So client story, so like Bulgari and its 400K views. I think here you really want to lead with social proof, but typically the trick with case studies is to not talk about the industry straight away. Because if you talk about, say, the industry or like the hotel type, then it's only people who are interested in growing a brand for this that could be interested. While if you just talk about it broadly, about the strategy you used, then you're gonna get lots of people, and that probably also means that you're gonna have more people in this niche that could be interacting with the post. But at the same time, because you do videos, you don't need just like people in one niche.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
someone could come with an idea of a video they want to make and it's be like, oh, I don't usually do this, but it seems you have the money. So here, I think what I would do is I would talk numbers in the first line of the post, and then I would just say that I'm gonna break it down, right? So I would say like this content strategy generated 400K plus views on a new 5,000 followers
Yeah.
Instagram account, you know, something like this, you know. And then people are gonna be like, okay, what am I gonna get from this? And then you would do like, here's the step by step breakdown, you know, something like this. Here it would be like a proper sort of case studies, but like you will make it very tactical. Because I just like, let's talk visual though. Visually speaking, it's like you could do an infographic in this case because you're describing a content strategy. So you could showcase, you know, how like
Yeah.
the content assets are being made and like it kind of links to more bookings. Or you could showcase proof, as in, for example, like a GIF that scrolls down the account where we see maybe like now it has more than 5k followers, but like where we see like the followers and then we see like the views that the videos get, because now like people are like, okay, this guy is not full of shit. There's actually
Yeah.
proof, so it's verifiable, right? Then like here would be like, here's a step-by-step breakdown, but then first I would describe the situation. So I would say Bulgaria, Dubai contacted us in Nike
Yeah.
in November, blah blah, and then like their objective, they wanted to launch, right, or something.
Yeah, it was the new launch of the Instagram.
Okay, they were launching a brand new Instagram for what sort of event? It's just the
For the hotel.
for the hotel.
The
Naturally,
resort.
they need high performing content, and then like luckily they thought of 4 digital sayings, and it would go like, here's what we did. People like when it's precise. This is what I noticed, right? This is my experience. Is like when you talk numbers, as in, for example, if I tell you, hey, like I published a lot of LinkedIn posts to gain 48,000 followers, versus if I tell you I published 525 posts, which I think is
Yeah.
always the case. But it's like one of them is more precise. You actually like it because it's like in talking like straight numbers. And so here, for example, like I would say like
X amount of
Yeah.
stories, of posts, of videos.
yeah, exactly. But I would say like 5 reels, and then here the strategy was blah blah blah, and then like you would do like a X static image. Here we wanted to show
Yeah.
X, and then like maybe you could share some hacks that help like grow faster. In the end, you would end up with a PS line, as in like needs to launch a new account or grow an existing one. And then like I would go on the Bulgari Instagram, then like just look at say the videos you made, and maybe like just scroll down so we see the views.
Yeah. Or the infographic, or like stories brings views to like and post, and like trying to find a way of a funnel now.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, you could also do this. So we actually prepared a few posts. You know, this is the reason why actually I like to have recurring formats, is because this is gonna happen so like week after week, and at some point you're gonna easily be able to compare, you know, which of these formats brought you views, which of these formats brought you leads, and so on and so on and so on. And so this is why I'd say like you can pick or you can stick to these formats. Maybe you could have like one day where it's like it's gonna be the experimental day where I just try a bunch of things. But here the idea would be like to stick to this for the next 3 months, and then really try to think, okay, how can I improve? You know, what are the people in my industry making it work, doing that I'm not, and so on and so on. So now we talked about your formats. Now obviously you're gonna need to take some time and actually create this post. But one thing about LinkedIn is that, as they say, it's a social platform. And so it's not the kind of platform where you can just take a post, publish it, and then disappear and sort of hope for your post to explode. LinkedIn wants you to stick and to spend some time on the platform. And so every time we post, there's a routine that you should follow to maximize your odds of having a lot of impressions. So the first thing, and I have no idea why it's like this actually. So I've talked to some of the biggest creators on the platform, and they always say you need to be posting at the exact same time every day. I was like, how does that make sense? But then at some point I was like, anyways, they are saying it, so let me try this out. And so since then, I post every day at 12:30. And why is it 12:30? It's completely random, to be honest. But what I've noticed now, that if I fail to post at the same time, I get less reach. So it works. So I'd say like the first thing is just try to find a time and stick to it. Also, what you want to do before posting is you actually want to engage with some other people. And the reason for this is because, you know, like the way the algorithm decides if it's going to show your post to more people is usually based on your early engagement. So you write a post, and then in the first, say, 20, 30 minutes, LinkedIn is going to look at, okay, how many people have commented on the post so far. And based on this, it will decide to showcase the post to more people. And one way you can influence more people commenting on your post is by actually commenting on other posts. Because like the biggest predictor of someone commenting on your post is the fact that they commented on one of your older posts. One thing that I do is I look at my post, right? And I would look at, okay, how many people, like I would look at the people who commented on my last post, and I would just like open a new tab with them. You know, so I open a tab with Cameron here, with Marcos, with Aman, And so 1 hour or 30 minutes before the post, if you have less time, just go on their profile, check them out. He's talking about cold email tips. He's gonna comment something. Looks like great tips.
So you would comment on people who already comment on yours?
Yeah, because the thing is like you comment on them, and so imagine what happens is they're gonna get a notification from you, then you post, and so now there's this reciprocity effect where they're like, "Oh, I commented on my post." Obviously, like they want to get likes, so they will continue to to comment on yours, and vice versa. And this actually means that now LinkedIn is gonna show the post to more people, which will ultimately help it perform, right? And so here I'm gonna say +1 of the frictionless CTA advice. Prospects hate when you ask for time without earning it prior. See, I'm getting very good at commenting bullshit. This is just the game, guys, Don't blame the player, I just know for a fact that if I comment enough time before I post, so it's gonna be the difference between me reaching 5,000 people versus reaching 20,000 people, like in the last week, when I had 300,000 impressions. You don't get 300,000 impressions without generating leads.
How many comments would you say? Would you do?
I'd say like, because it's difficult, right? So in the beginning, maybe like try to do at least just 10 comments. And then if you can expand at some point. Obviously, some days you just won't have the time. So, it's like not a big deal, but it's just a habit to have. The only issue there is with comment is that you need to be seeing some posts that sort of inspire you to comment on. And sometimes when you open your LinkedIn feed, you see like some random post where you're like, "Oh, I don't want to comment on this." What you can do is you can create a custom field, So like the way you do this, like if you click on enter here, you can actually select some people that you want to see the content for. So for example, what I can do here is I click on post, and then I'm going to say here like from member, I'm going to say, I want to see post from tip, I want to see post from your brother. I'm gonna put my brother. And here, for example, then what happens is that I have now a feed. I can sort by latest post that only showcases these people. So here you can see that's the case. But so you can create a custom feed. And so what you could do is you could do a custom feed with just your target clients, or it could be a custom feed of, people who you engage with all the time because they always engage on you, but it's gonna make it easier. And once you have, so like this custom feed, you comment before your post, you post at the same time every day. And then what's extremely important to do is to reply to every single comment in the first 30 minutes. What people say is that the more comments you get on your post, the more reach you will get. It's like if you have 10 comments, you should reply to all of them because now you have 20 comments. And one thing that also pushes the algorithm further is when there are some conversations happening. Another thing you should try to do as much as possible is every time, every day when you post, you can repost your latest post. The whole idea is because I'm posting, say, at 12:30 European time, the US is still sleeping. So what I'm gonna do later in the day is I'm simply gonna repost the post I've done so that it will be shown on the, say, US people feed. And so like every day what I would do is I just repost later in the evening, then I delete the repost from yesterday. So here it doesn't look like I ever repost publication, but I actually do. And so before we go, I want to give you one last advice. One thing about content is the more you do it, the easier it actually gets. And the reason for this is because every time you create a post that goes crazy in terms of eyeballs, that's sort of a banger, you can actually repurpose it like the month after or a couple of months after. Imagine if you have 500 posts and let's say that you have 50 that performed extremely well. And let's say that these 50 posts, say 30 to 40 of them, you've actually published them more than 2 months ago. And if you don't have any inspiration for a post, you could just like go look, say like at your impression numbers and then basically look at the past 365 days of impressions, for example. And here then like you can look at your posts that perform the best.
And you just change your hook and you keep the same body.
I like slightly change the hook because, for example, we just crossed and I'm like, Lemlist just crossed. Like here's every tool they used to run their SaaS. Here's every tool we used to run our agency. And so on. And so, so like this is something that you can definitely use, and this will allow you to have some high-performing content. And over time, you will actually have a bank of proven content where you know for a fact that if you publish this specific content type, you will get at least 20k impressions. The one thing I would recommend to do is that when you are repurposing this post, you just like improve it a little bit so that like the repurposed version of your older post is slightly better, which actually means that like they do even better than the previous time that you published this,
Question I have is, do you think of every of your posts you have to tag people or brands, or do you sometimes post without even tagging anyone?
Yeah, no, I don't always tag, but I'd say for us, because what we do is we have our agency where we do obviously like go-to-market services for our clients, but also one thing we do is we educate the market around GTM technology. It's like really embedded in the brand to be tagging other companies. At the same time, I see that it tends to make the post perform better because it makes people engage on this post. So if you can, I would say like every time you can, you have the option to do so. I'd say tag people, tag brand, but that's not the most important in terms of going viral.
Okay.
Okay, well, Tib, what do you think of today? Like, do you feel like you're gonna be able to reach 20K followers? Did we miss anything? Do you have any question? Tell me.
No, it's pretty clear. I will see along the way. Let's say it's a challenge, right? So if I respect all of the rules that you've set, I stay consistent and we see in 3 months and I'll tell you it's on the way or not.
Okay, well then, guys, in 3 months, you're gonna be able to check if Tib did find some success with LinkedIn. I'm actually sure you will, just because some of the videos and like the content you put out already is beautiful. I think now it's really a game of learning how to package this for it to perform on LinkedIn, but I don't see a reason not to work. So let's see in 3 months. In the meantime, go follow Tib so that you can already get a few followers, and I'm gonna put his link in the description. Also, go check out what they do. If you're a hotel, if you have villas that you wanna rent out, they actually make the best videos in this game. So definitely worth following. And in the meantime, I'll see you in the next one.
Thank
Ciao,
you,
ciao.
bro.